Every act of violence, no matter who it targets, strikes at the heart of our communities and our freedoms. Our colleges and universities must be places where people are safe to learn, to speak, and to question. Protecting free expression and ensuring safety are not competing goals. They're inseparable. Our campuses must be spaces where people lean in, wrestle with difficult ideas, and engage with one another. And that is why today, at this difficult moment, we're launching this crucial campaign: higher education, saving lives, building futures, and powering the economy. This campaign is our answer to the growing division in society, the mounting authoritarianism, and specifically this campaign is an antidote to the onslaught of attacks on our colleges and universities, as well as attacks on our faculty, students, and staff. This campaign affirms that higher education is not a battleground of fear, but the foundation of a free society, a place where life-saving research happens, where futures are built, and where our economy and democracy are powered every single day. I also want to note that this historic campaign aligns the American Association of University Professors and the American Federation of Teachers and our 400,000 higher ed workers across this country in a fight over the future of higher education. And let us be clear about what is at risk right now in the budget being debated and negotiated here in Washington, D.C. Over the last 9 months, the Trump administration has slashed billions from the NIH, NSF, CDC, and other agencies, dismantling the greatest biomedical research infrastructure in the world, bar none. What does that mean? That means cancer patients left without hope, Alzheimer's stealing more loved ones, diabetes going untreated, and heart disease taking lives that could have been saved. With a stroke of a pen, these cuts have lowered the life expectancy of every single American. Think about it. When your mother or father, your son or daughter needs a breakthrough treatment, those cures will not be there. Not because our scientists have failed, but because politicians chose cruelty over care, power over progress, and that is what we're fighting for. However, this campaign is not only about resisting cuts or pushing back against attacks on our institutions of higher learning. Instead, this campaign is about offering our vision of the role of higher education in the future of this country. It's about building a movement of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of higher education workers, students, and community allies, wall to wall, every worker on our campus, every student on our campus, and coast to coast. Together, we're uniting to say higher education is a public good and it must be defended and renewed. We will fight for restored federal support for research and student aid. We will fight to make sure our colleges are affordable and accessible to all, and no one leaves college with a mountain of debt. We will fight for thriving working conditions for every higher ed worker, from adjunct faculty and grad students to custodians and counselors. We will fight to make sure our historically black colleges and universities, and our tribal colleges and universities, and all minority-serving institutions are fully funded. And we will fight for academic freedom, freedom of speech and assembly, and the right of every student to protest, speak, and learn without fear of the federal government. Why does this matter to every American? Let me tell you why. Because our universities are central to the future of this democracy. Higher ed is an engine of our economy, from Wall Street to the small towns where our colleges flourish. Higher ed is where life-saving research is done in public labs and hospitals every single day. Higher ed is where teachers, nurses, engineers, and social workers are trained to serve our community. Higher ed is where first-generation students and working-class families find opportunities and a path to a middle class. And higher ed is the beating heart of our democracy, a place for inquiry, dissent, debate, and free pursuit of truth. To attack higher education is to attack the economy, to attack our health, our future, our freedom, and ourselves. So let me close with this. We will not let authoritarian leaders dismantle higher education. We will not. We will not allow billionaires to profit while our communities suffer. And we will not allow fear to silence students and faculty and staff who will speak out. Higher education, saving lives, building futures, powering the economy is our answer to this moment. We are launching a campaign rooted in unity, powered by hundreds of thousands of workers and students across this country, and driven by the conviction that education is a common good for all. We will fight in the courts, and we have, and we've won. We will fight in Congress. We will fight on our campuses, in our communities, and in the streets. And in 2026, and I want to underline this, in 2026, we will make higher education a defining issue in the ballot box, We are here today, we'll be here tomorrow, and we will fight until we win, because when we stand together, we win. Thank you. And next up, I want to introduce Congressman Mannion from New York. Welcome, Congressman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm John Mannion. I'm from Syracuse, New York. I'm a former AFT member. I'm married to an AFT member. I was 26 years in the classroom in AP biology, chemistry, and 15-to-1 living environment teacher, and also an adjunct professor. I got to vote here in just a minute or so. So that's a good thing. When you get a combination of a politician and a teacher in front of a microphone, it can be dangerous. So I will be brief. I just want to tell a couple quick stories. In a local public higher education institution in my district, there was a $3.8 million grant to focus on getting more practitioners into the mental health field in our schools. These were school counselors, school psychologists, social workers. Cut. Now, these weren't new dollars. These were dollars that were appropriated in a previous Congress, a promise made and a promise broken. And I remind people that those appropriated dollars were passed in a Republican majority Congress in the House of Representatives. And we should be good on our promises. Another quick story. Upstate Medical Center is in my district. We have one of the only biovector labs for Lyme and tick disease in the world, and we make sure that we're bringing in top researchers in that field, in the field of ophthalmology and others. Again, promises made. Who benefits from the research and innovation that has truly made this country the country that it is? Not blue states, not red states, not Republicans, not independents, not Democrats. Everyone benefits. We have all benefited from the investment in our higher education institutions, because that's how we do research and innovation in this country. And it is a model that has not only worked, it has led us to the top. Last story. I met with a gentleman the other day. We were not talking about NIH grants. We were just talking about a number of different things, but we got on the issue of healthcare. And he shared with me as he teared up that he had pancreatic cancer. But he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 4.5 years ago, which would have been unheard of just 10 years ago. And why does he have the quality of life and the sustained life that he has? It's because for generations we have invested in our higher ed research institutions to make sure that we are the leaders in the world when it comes to healthcare, to energy generation, or whatever scientific endeavor it might be. So I stand with these great people in education. I stand with the president and his previous comments that I align myself with. We will stand together. There's a reason that higher education is attacked right now. And the reason is because there is power there. Just like there's power in diversity, power in labor unions, power in public education. And that's the reason we will continue to be resilient, stand strong together, and do the right thing for this country, regardless of anyone's party affiliation. Thank you.
John.
Yeah. Oh, my son's over here. You barely beat him, Randy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Dr. Annalise Meneke, and I'm a federally funded researcher in North Carolina whose work focuses on preventing things like sexual assault, child sex trafficking, domestic and dating violence, and youth and community violence. This work is deeply personal to me, as my father was shot and killed when I was just 9 months old. experience shaped my passion for finding solutions that improve safety in our communities. We are facing some of the most divisive, violent, and extreme times, but I firmly believe that violence can be prevented. I know that prevention can happen through federally funded research that allows us to develop and test innovative solutions. But now that funding is being threatened, which disrupts the work that we do and the opportunities for our students. Through our grants, we have had the privilege of employing and mentoring over 50 students. Most of the students at my university don't have the time, the money, or the resources to volunteer in a research lab. When students are able to get paid to do research, they learn that research can be fun. They envision themselves as the researchers, and they gain translatable workforce skills. Federal funding for research transforms their lives, and in turn, these students transform our science. Students are smart, creative, innovative, fearless. They push us to take risks and develop solutions that will actually reduce rates of violence in this country. They've pushed us to try approaches like developing games or delivering interventions via smartwatches. Federal funding for science and higher education allows these innovations to happen and allows us to train tomorrow's leaders. We must sustain this funding.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the AFT and the AAUP for inviting me to speak, and thank you, press, for being here. My name is Lauren Kerner, and I'm so honored to be here today to tell you the story of my little brother, Daniel. Daniel was the most perfect little boy you could ever imagine. Big blue eyes, teddy bear brown, soft hair, with a belly laugh that filled a room and a bear hug that just wrapped you up. Daniel was perfect. When Daniel was 3 years old, after hitting every milestone, he started to lose his speech. It was like a vacuum came and started to take away his words. A few months later, he began having seizures. He was diagnosed with autism and epilepsy. A few months later, he walked onto the school bus with his 2 little feet, and by the time he got home that day, he could no longer walk. He'd lost the ability to walk in one school day. My parents rushed him to the hospital, where they poked and prodded his little 4-year-old body for a month, until the doctors came in and said, "We're so sorry, your son has Batten disease. It is terminal, it's neurodegenerative, and your son won't live to see his 12th birthday. There's nothing we can do." For families like mine that get news like that, there is often, sometimes if you're lucky, a small cause for hope, which is the miracles that come out of our NIH. Thanks to decades and decades of research funded by the NIH, there was a stem cell transplant being done for the first time in Oregon in 2006 at Oregon Health and Sciences University in Portland. Daniel became the first patient in this first of its kind neural stem cell transplant, and the surgery was a success. The cells engrafted. Daniel left the hospital smiling. It was incredible, and we were so lucky to be at OHSU, a hospital that 60% of its funding comes from the NIH. Unfortunately, the treatment didn't do what's called crossing the blood-brain barrier, and Daniel passed away when he was 10 years old. His legacy, however, has endured and will continue to endure through research that's being furthered by the NIH. His study has gone on to inform future studies that are leading the way for cures and treatments for diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, conditions like spinal cord injuries, and so many others. And that's why I'm here today to tell Daniel's story to lawmakers, had the chance to tell it to 5 teams of lawmakers today, because we must get this full funding for the NIH and NSF through, and we need to ensure that our doctors and scientists are able to do their work so that families, like all of our families, can have the treatments and cures that we can have through the NIH. Thank you.
So yeah, we had teams of people out today talking to legislators and demanding full funding, and we will continue to do that. So now it's my honor to introduce someone who has been leading the fight every single day, Randi Weingarten of the American Federation of Teachers. Since 2008, Randi has guided the AFT, which has nearly 1.8 million members, educators, healthcare professionals, and public service workers, defending what matters in education and democracy. And it's important to note, she has a new book out, Why Fascists Fear Teachers, Public Education and the Future of Democracy. And that book is a bold and urgently needed work. In it, she shows how authoritarian movements throughout history have targeted teachers, banning books, silencing classrooms, and attacking critical thinking, because they know an educated people cannot be controlled. But this is not just a warning, this book. It's also a roadmap. Randi highlights how teachers and unions are organizing, how inclusive classrooms build stronger communities, and how defending public education is inseparable from defending education, democracy itself. And so I'm so proud to stand next to Randi and her vision and have it be a part of higher education, saving lives and building futures. So please join me in welcoming AFT President Randi Weingarten.
But today, I'm going to talk about higher ed, and I really appreciate you, Todd, and all of you for lobbying today and being in this building. Lauren and Annalise, for your stories and for keeping the memories of people so close to you and who should be so close to us alive. And I appreciate all of you for covering what is really important. And what I wanted to do to start is to say this. This is the first public press conference that I've done since the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. An assassination that actually happened on a college campus, where the members, the faculty of that campus, were concerned enough to have asked early on for more security. Political violence must be condemned, and we all have a responsibility to de-escalate. I want to say that as clearly as I possibly can. But what that actually means in practice every single day is that colleges and campuses have to be sacrosanct, places where students and faculty are safe. And there are lots of ways that we can make that happen. But first and foremost, in order for that to happen, we actually have to have colleges and universities. And when people on both the right and the left understand that colleges and universities are essential to our lives and to the United States of America, that becomes the first principle we have to protect and defend. And the second principle we have to protect and defend is that college professors, whether they are adjunct professors or lecturers or those with, 50 years of tenure, they help students learn and thrive. And for them to help students learn and thrive, they have to have the latitude to teach and to imagine what's possible. That means that fundamentally, free speech and academic freedom is essential to what happens in our country and what happens on campuses. So we're here today to actually fight for higher education for all, for higher education regardless of what ideology a student might have or what ideology a professor might have. And when we fight for higher education, we are fighting for everyone, for our students, for our faculty, and for our communities. You just heard about a miracle that happened because of NIH. But here's the miracles that happen on college campuses all the time. Take researchers at the University of Texas Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. They pioneered research in the 1990s on immune therapies that battle tumors. Or the scientists who are studying genetic sequencing in order to treat heart arrhythmias. In the same jurisdiction, the same congressional district, SUNY Upstate Medical Center, that Congressman Manton was here from. Higher education saves lives. It builds futures. It powers the economy. Just go to any campus in the United States of America in a small town and you will see it. And that's part of the reason that we are here, all of us, the two largest unions that represent people who work on universities or in universities and colleges. We have to protect higher education as a public good, but protecting it is not enough. We have to invest in it and strengthen it. And why are we here in Washington today as we launch our campaign here? Our multi-month, multi-year campaign to not only save higher education, but to invest in it and to strengthen it. And we're here today because we know that the funding that NIH and NSF and NASA have gotten, that funding is absolutely essential to be able to do the life-saving work that people on campuses have been doing for decades. And to see this administration yank funding from NIH, from NSF, and from NASA is wrong. And we have to call for that funding not only to be restored, but if we want a healthier country, then we need that funding in order to make the country healthier. And we're calling to see that the administration distributes this funding not according to favor, but according to need, free from political interference. And as we're talking about this and that funding, we're actually calling for the administration to use the procedures that it has had in place since the Civil Rights Movement, the Office of Civil Rights, to fight racism or anti-Semitism, rather than yanking funding from colleges like Columbia or like Harvard or like any of the universities of California. We are fighting for every young person in America to not only dream dreams, but to ensure that they can achieve dreams. And whether that is the student who is burdened with student debt, whether that is a community in upstate New York that whose university lab drives the regional and state economies, whether that is the faculty or staff that actually spend money in a community and ensure that community thrives, whoever that is, whatever that is, colleges and universities are the anchor of what powers this country, and we must fight for every student's right to go and for every college to have the conditions and the resources, particularly that from the federal government, that has made decades and decades of innovation possible. We launched this campaign today. It goes through the 2026 elections, and we launch it with people on the ground at the Capitol fighting for the monies that colleges need to do the life-saving work that they do. Thank you.
We can open it up to questions. We're expecting a member of Congress to show up, so we can ask a few questions now if we have them.
We said everything you needed us to say.
Are there specific members of Congress you're working with, and are there any Republican members you're going to work with to get this message out?
We are working with every member of Congress who will take a visit from us, Republican and Democrat alike.
Did you talk to any Republicans today?
Yes. Look, many college campuses are in communities that are represented by Republicans. And part of what we need to do is make this a bipartisan issue.
Take Alabama. They have massive amounts of NIH funding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'll just add, take Alabama. They have massive amounts of NIH funding. It is in the interest of the congressional delegation to work with us to make sure that NIH, NSF, NASA, which is also important for Alabama, are fully funded. And so we will absolutely work with anyone. We're fighting to make sure our colleges and universities are fully funded and we can rebuild the federal agency that has been under attack. We will work with anyone to do it.
As we're talking about members of Congress, we talked earlier about one of the universities in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
And one of the members of Congress that so ably represents the 1st District in Oregon, Susan Bonamici, is here with us today.
Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you. I'm Suzanne Bonamici, and I represent Oregon's 1st Congressional District, and I am here to fight for higher education. And I know the value. I know from my own experience. I worked my way through community college and law school. My kids both went through higher education. I have a highly educated family, and we value that. But everyone deserves a path to a better future. Not everyone is on the same path, but for those who choose college, it must be accessible and it must be affordable. I went back and looked at what President Johnson said when he signed the Higher Education Act into law. This will swing open a new door for the young people of America, for them, and for this entire land of ours. It is the most important door that will ever open, the door to education. To thousands of young men and women, this act means the path of knowledge is open to all who have the determination to walk it. And that was in 1965, and we need to bring that message back today. Education is a powerful force for social and economic mobility. In higher education, it's not just job training, it's about enlightenment, learning how to think critically, and learning how to be informed citizens, something more important than ever. And federally funded research, that's essential to U.S. leadership and to our economy. Government funds high-risk projects because industries can't. The internet was invented because of federal research. The MRI machine was invented because of federal research. We went to the moon because of federal research. We have historically been the research powerhouse, and we can't turn back now. We've attracted talent from around the world, but now, with the tax from Donald Trump and his administration, we've seen devastating cuts to federal research grants, calling them useless or DEI. That's nonsense. And saying higher education is elitist, that's nonsense too. Higher education opens the door of opportunity for everyone. So we're going to oppose these attacks. We will fight. If we can't legislate, we will litigate. We will not back down. And we will not stop fighting for higher education and for a brighter, better future. So thank you everyone for your advocacy. We're going to keep up this fight together and we will win. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.